Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue is still spinning on the ones and twos. We got about 30 people jumped in on the YouTubes. If you're a member, premium supporter of ROKFIN, go on over there and join. We always like you to watch over there, waiting for that stream to come through. And then once we get you on, there we are. Let's see, we got how many people? 3 people. So jump on in, a couple more people. It's a very, very clean stream, and you should enjoy it. Go on over there if you like to do that. We got a lot of things to talk about. It's a busy day.
Yeah.
Fam is sharing some stuff right now, but we're going to start off with Uncle Joe, right?
Yeah. So Joe Biden reappeared this morning, and it was weird. It was very, very weird because
6 days, right?
He didn't look good. He didn't sound good.
Does he ever?
And I mean, it's worse than before. And here's a conspiracy theory moment because, people like Emma Vigilant like to call people conspiracy theorists. But if you look in the background, it looks like he's in front of a green screen. It really, really looks like that. A few people have zoomed in on that and have been trying to figure out what the hell is this. It just looks so strange. The colors are off, and it just looks off. So let's start by showing a little bit of the clip of what he talked about, which was basically nothing. It was a bunch of platitude salad.
Yeah.
But he was not even able to follow a prompt. He was clearly following a teleprompter, right? And he was not necessarily able to really, really follow it. So
take a look.
President Trump and Mitch McConnell are trying to put a corporate bailout ahead of millions of families. It's families. It's simply wrong. We should be focusing on families. The White House and the United States Senate Republicans have proposed a $500 billion slush fund for corporations with almost no conditions. And you don't have to tell Americans where it's going to go for months. You don't have to explain what you did with it. The Trump administration could allow money for stock buybacks, for executive pay. Republicans refuse to increase Social Security at the same time, to forgive student loans, to take the necessary steps to stop evictions, ensure food and nutrition for vulnerable families. Senator McConnell should immediately allow a bipartisan vote on aggressive measures to help small businesses, workers, communities, so they reflect what they need and so they can get moving, so we can help them now. This is a time to help families, communities, and small businesses. People trying to pay their mortgages or their rent, student loans, urgent bills. They need help. They shouldn't have to pay for a corporate handout before they get the help they need. They need the help now.
Okay, so
I don't even want to get into this guy right now.
Well,
Jesus,
this is
Christmas with this guy.
But it's funny because this is the earliest one he released, very early in the morning. And he sounded off. He was clearly reading from a teleprompter, but
you really thought so for sure?
Oh yeah, 100%. You'll see in the next one. It gets worse. It gets worse than that.
But his words are such full of shit too as well. This
just
whole fucking process has been going through what they did today. Pelosi coming, showing up, blowing it on up. Mm-hmm. They're playing political ping pong. They're trying to do pork barrel fucking politics instead of just putting forth a straight bill like Rashida Tlaib just put out the other day. Now, you don't have to accept that bill, but we should have a bill for this fucking situation and this situation only. How are we going to help the American people out? And both sides now, and here comes Uncle Joe with his clouded, stupid fucking mind. Just platitudes all over the place. I'm sorry, you have the next one, the green screen. You tell us, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this. So it was, I set it at 7 minutes, I think, 7 something.
You got the times in there, right?
This is simply too much at stake. Too many lives, too many livelihoods, too many homes and families and businesses and communities at risk. I've laid out a very detailed, in-depth plan for what I think we should be doing. You can read it on joebiden.com. We need immediate action on testing, on research for treatments and vaccines, on leading a global response to beat the virus everywhere. But today, I want to focus on just 4 key points of action. First, the president must take immediate steps to increase our capacity, the capacity of our healthcare system, to treat the sickest coronavirus patients safely. I'm glad the president has finally activated the National Guard. Now we need the armed forces and the National Guard to help with hospital capacity, supplies, and logistics. We need to activate the reserve corps of doctors and nurses and beef up the number of responders dealing with these crush of cases. And
Look at his hand. Oh no. This was the part.
It froze.
sure that
it froze when he
are
froze.
In a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that. The president must use the Defense Production Act.
No, you skipped it. You skipped the part where he was like, that's hilarious. That is so fucking weird. He literally goes, his hand goes like that is really weird.
That's not weird.
That was the whole part.
That
was the whole point.
I know, but that's what they'll do. They'll fuck that shit up so you can't go back and show how
that
stupid he is.
We are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that.
No,
the president must use the Defense Production Act.
It was before that. But,
oh God.
And then at 88 minutes and 55 seconds, he. Okay. I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about what he's saying right away. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the whole point of showing that was to show because he basically he's reading off a teleprompter, and something happens with it where his left hand goes like this, and he's like, oh, like stop, like he's like, and then he's like, wait a minute, and he can't follow the teleprompter, and then the following one, he also can't. He says things like he forgets what decade we're in. He talks about 2020 and the 40s, and then like 1920, and it's a disaster. It's just a disaster.
Jackie Pagao says Biden looks like a corpse, and this is our guy. He ain't my guy. I ain't even gonna fucking vote for him.
Yeah,
please.
No, that's the Democratic
terrible.
Party elites guy. That's not our guy. But
I mean, they're willing to put this donkey out there right now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And goddamn, in the middle of a coronavirus epidemic, and it's just fucking scary right now.
Look at all these videos. I looked up Biden's speech, and I put the filter to today. Okay, so there it is. There's a full one, so we'll pull that up. But let's see. 2YT said Joe Biden's cringy coronavirus speech. Hardlands, Biden's speech fail. Let's see. Disastrous live stream by this guy. Who's this guy? I'm just saying all these titles are Biden back from dead for awful live stream.
Dude, it's even Papi Chulo got one there too as well, my boy. I mean, hey Papi. I mean, it's just fucking nuts with this guy.
Old Joe Biden stares into space.
It's nuts with this guy. This guy has dementia. He's stupid, really. And the Democratic Party pushed forth this guy, and you have Hollywood elites. He's the choice of a lifetime, fam. Says Neeraj Tanden.
He's not. He's been gone for 5 days. He's not really giving actual solutions. He's saying we have to do this, but he's not saying how and how we need to pass something and how we need to do this. He's not being specific. He's being very general because if he's specific, then he has to specify. Oh, I mean. Yeah, we need healthcare, but not Medicare for all. We just need, for like free vaccines. And like it's just he's just a terrible candidate. He's a worse candidate than Hillary Clinton, and I never thought that was possible.
He says a lot without saying anything. Really, to tell you the truth, without being specific about certain things. And once again, they, like I said, they should just pass a bill dealing nothing else, nothing with the financial sector. And don't tell me that you can't do that. You can. Just specifically on what you're going to do for the American people. How are you going to bail them out for this time of need? If you don't like Rashida's bill, $2,000 and then $1,000 a month for a year after, okay, we'll negotiate off that. Don't say that you have to give this money to this financial institution or that institution or that for small businesses. Go work on a bill for small businesses, but right away, pass a bill that just helps the American people. It's March 22nd now, right? 23rd? Yeah. Okay, we're a week away from freaking getting really in some serious trouble. And right now, people are running out of money for food. Get them the money and the resources they need right now. Democrats, Republicans, stop playing fucking politics and ping pong. Get in a room and get it done. And we don't need more of this bullshit from fucking Joe Biden. Nothing specific.
And, well, just as you find the video or whatever, so Biden also spoke with Obama about the VP possibilities, and one of the things he mentioned that I wanted to mention was that he specified that the person who was going to become VP was going to need to become president possibly the first day. And he said the most important thing, and I've actually talked to Barack about this, the most important thing is that there has to be someone who the day after they're picked is prepared to be president of the United States of America. If something happened. And this is really weird, a weird thing to say. Obviously, he's up there in age, as is Bernie Sanders, but I've never heard Bernie Sanders said, I need to pick a VP that's prepared to take over the presidency because something might happen. Like, I don't know. I just genuinely, he was gone for 5 days. It was weird. Nobody said anything. And we were all like wondering why. Instead, the mainstream media turns it around and attacks Sanders for not going to the Senate vote, even though it was a cloture. And we're going to talk about that more. But,
Isn't he one of the 5 Democrats in the Senate that's quarantined? I know Paul wasn't there today because he was quarantined.
No, the 5 Republicans were quarantined, not Democrats.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was 5 total, and I thought they were mostly Democrats. Okay,
No,
so
it was all Republicans.
So,
it was a Republican bill. It was a check. It was a check to big corporations. It was nothing to do with any sort of progressive or any sort of direct aid.
You mean
to
today's
people.
Bill?
The Senate.
Yeah. No, the Senate bill once again wasn't direct enough for the people. It allowed them to apply for tax credits, whatnot, and there were hula hoops and there was assistances. But once again, you have to negotiate from a different point of view of like, okay, we need a better bill. Both sides are trying to throw shit in that they want rather than saying, let's put all that stuff aside and let's just work on the individuals, the Americans, and get them the money they need.
Because both sides don't want to give people money, Pasta. Yeah. They just want to give corporations their money. They're not doing this. They're not going to give people money. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that later. Did you find it or should we just Okay.
Coordinate getting medical supplies out to every corner of the country so we don't have governors competing against one another. As of late yesterday, we're told that the president still has not activated the authority under the Defense Production Act, which I and others call for him to invoke immediately and act on, to direct American manufacturers to make essential supplies. Trump keeps saying that his word...
It was just the one where he's just, he messes up. He talks about the decade we're in.
In addition to that...
there you go. That's one of them.
Make sure that we
move the teleprompter up, asshole. He's going like this to you.
Let me go the second. I've spoken enough of that.
Fam, I'm glad we went and undo that.
And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that. The president must use the Defense Production Act.
The other one is shortly after it.
That was just one clip.
Yeah, that was just the one.
That was just the one clip. But we could see what a donkey this guy is.
Yeah. So he basically says, like 100 years ago in 1920, 1940, 2020, and he just gets his all of his words so mixed up. It's funny.
We need to activate the reserve corps of doctors and nurses and beef up the number of responders dealing with these crush of cases. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are. Let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that. The president must use the Defense Production Act to radically increase the supply of critical goods needed to treat patients and protect our healthcare workers and first responders.
He's straight up reading that teleprompter. And he said he had time to look over things and address the coronavirus. He can't address it without looking at a teleprompter. I mean, this is the guy that's going to be the commander-in-chief of the United States. Are you kidding me?
Nah.
Nah.
I really wish we can go look inside those machines and see if people really fucking voted for this guy, because I would bet that they didn't. But then again, hey, man, I guess we're just going to accept the results that are given to us, right?
We're not going to accept the results, but the rest of America might. But those of us who know better need to continue talking about it. And people are talking about it more now. They are. A lot of pushback on Emma. So we'll see about that. So this is what
Tim Canova.
Exactly. So
Kyle Kulinski made a tweet about it, about Biden's speech. I'll never forgive Democratic primary voters who chose this over social democracy. And then Tim Canova tweets at Kyle, will you forgive the electronic voting machines that curiously never seem to reflect the will of voters, or the many pundits who find all kinds of explanations, like blaming voters to avoid the conclusion that the software is rigged and these are fake elections?
So that kind of spun us off today. I think we both made comments on this one because then somebody,
hello, somebody
made another comment, right? What's her name? Emma V?
Emma. So Emma said he lost it. There's a conspiracy around every corner with him these days. Crying wolf on election after election without proof discredits the left. And the thing with her is that she just okay, I'm just going to read what I said because I said, says the woman who propped up $14.1 million super PAC Warren, and with TYT still pushing Biden to pick Warren as a VP. Anyone who's not an idiot knows there's flat out proof of not only voter suppression, but election tampering. I've been covering it nonstop. We both have. And it's not new.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, yeah, this Emma's like, you know, she's wrong. She's in the wrong. I can't believe she's saying this.
I made a
They
comment
put the
too.
Brenda Snipes stuff. They put the Broward County elections, and people were stating, look, the 11-year-old who hacked into a replica of a voter system. I mean, there's nothing new. This is not anything, you know. And when she, on her tweet, she got a lot of pushback. And the reason I'm commenting on this is because a lot of people have been afraid of speaking out against election integrity issues and calling it that, or calling it rigging, or calling it voter fraud, or election fraud, and calling it lack of transparency because of the connotations from people like Emma.
Yeah.
That this isn't that this is conspiracy theory. But at this point, I think the majority of people, at least this time around, are seeing it. And it's really interesting to see the elite journalist class who completely dismisses it. I mean, think about it. We're the only ones talking about this, aside from Jimmy Dore, who has kind of touched on it, and Nico, who was obviously last time around touched on it. And everybody else is really kind of just like, yeah, well, we're not going to touch that. Why? Because it brings a lot of doubt. It makes you take a risk when you're addressing this. This is why the Bernie Sanders campaign hasn't addressed this, but that is to their detriment because they absolutely should. And at this point, it's there's no denying it. I mean, we've been covering this, you guys. You guys can watch the videos we've been talking. Yeah. It's absolutely real.
And I left a tweet that kind of says, well, this is what we have to think about. All right, so we know for a fact that, I put down to her thing when she says that, it's just the, once again, it's the conspiracy theorists. I said, Emma, have you even talked to any election integrity activists? Because I never see her talk to any of them. Do you understand what black box voting is? Huh? Do you understand why open source software is so important? Here's the thing, Em. I can't prove it's fixed, but you can't prove it's legit. We can't look inside. Public elections, hello? So, I mean, we have to change the whole conversation when it comes to this, and I know we're trying to do so right now, because that's the thing that's like, the monkey in the room, the elephant in the room, whatever you want to say in the room. Yep. The elephant in the room is the fact is that we have, in 50 states, proprietary software in these machines that we're not allowed to look at. Whether you believe in counting them all, whatever audit process, we shouldn't have closed source software in these machines. I'm
Johnny,
sorry, fam.
If you go down the comments of where I made that tweet against Emma, where I made the tweet, and you go down in the comment section, and you go all the way down, there's a woman called Progressive Joy. She's all the way at the end, almost. She has a really good tweet.
Right there.
And this is how I explain it. This is entirely how I say it.
Read it.
See my response to the thread. People like Emma expect a smoking gun in mainstream media to report election rigging plus voter suppression. Not going to happen until we legally hold the DNC accountable for election fraud. To discredit people trying to make light of this is a gregarious of Emma. Or EV, Emma Vigilant. So that's what I mean. Like, when people ask for proof, they want like mainstream media and the New York Times, who benefit off the rigging, to say something. That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen until we can prove it ourselves. And these people hold all the power. So that's the bottom line.
That's all I got to say about that. I mean, we're going to be talking to more election integrity activists on this show. We're going to make it a point so people understand that at the very least, we have to make sure that there's no proprietary software. There's so many things we have to do, fam, right?
Yeah.
We have the whole overall of our whole election system, from what we do, the voter suppression that's done purposely. We have to let people understand how they do this, why they do this. So, our work's cut out for us, but we're going to make sure that we get it done and talk about this.
And just one more thing. When people say that, Bernie just doesn't have validity, Bernie just doesn't have electability, like young people didn't come out to vote. It's so insulting when I saw the opposite. I saw many young people come out to vote. I saw Bernie get the working class. I saw Bernie get the Latino vote. I saw all these things, and it's not reflected in the data. I saw all these people canvassing and saying, oh yeah, we're going to win this in the landslide. It's not reflected in the data. You're not going to tell me that King County was won by Biden, or that Flint, Michigan was won by Biden, or even Detroit and Massachusetts, places where he didn't really campaign. It's just not possible just based on the previous data alone. The exit polls, it's a bunch of things. It's not just one solid thing that's going to say, okay, yeah, it's right. It's a lot of things.
I really wish he would speak up and have lawyers on this. He has the money. He should have protested the first Super Tuesday through and through. And we can't do anything until he makes that move. Unfortunately,
I disagree that we can't do anything. I disagree that. I think people are going to be the ones to bring it up.
But he can do the most, and
he
not
can
doing
do
it.
He can do it, but he's not going to do it. That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. He's not going to do it. So that doesn't mean we shouldn't act and do something on our own, like what we're doing.
I understand, but it's his case. It's against him. He's the one who has to.
Nobody's denying. Nobody's denying he has to do it. I'm just denying the fact that people shouldn't do anything. That's what I don't agree with.
Yeah, I hear you, but he should do something.
He's not going to. So the dismissal of the Democrats are still trying to push Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, of course, as we've all seen, is obviously not fit to be president. But they've kind of turned this around and attacked Sanders in a way that is entirely unfair. So let me start by the healthcare, because they say that healthcare is on the ballot in November. And the Democrats had the audacity to post this tweet that was talking about healthcare being on the ballot in November. And they were saying healthcare is on the ballot. Healthcare is on the ballot in November, blah, 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 blah. And what I just said, Joe Biden is going to veto Medicare for all. And, they're talking about healthcare, but Joe Biden is the one is literally telling people he's going to veto Medicare for all. Now, apart from Joe Biden being the guy that wants to veto Medicare for all, he's also the guy that isn't necessarily good against Trump. Again, people have this thing where they're like, well, I guess Bernie's not viable. No, Bernie's viable. He's just, the votes aren't being counted. And so Daily Kos had this article where they were talking about how Joe Biden will cost Democrats the House and the Senate. And it's really interesting, because a lot of the Democratic Party wants to use this whole viability factor on Joe Biden, saying that, oh, look, see, he's winning all these states, so he's going to beat Donald Trump. And that's not the reality. If you look at this House election result, if GOP keeps control, that's what it's going to look like. And the reality is that Joe Biden's going to lose to Donald Trump, hands down. And so once he loses to Donald Trump, guess what's going to happen? The Republicans are going to completely take over the House and the Senate. And if you guys actually care about, stopping the Republicans and their policies and stopping people like Donald Trump, by putting Joe Biden on the ticket, you're pretty much ensuring that we're going to have an entirely red Congress, an entirely red executive branch, and probably an entirely red judicial branch. And that is what is at stake. And this is precisely why I believe Bernie Sanders can't drop out, because we're screwed if that happens. And the other thing is that visibility. Joe Biden was gone for 5 days, and he comes back. He has a disastrous speech that really answers nobody's question, doesn't calm people down. Bernie Sanders has been on for the last few days talking about the coronavirus, what we need to do, giving people solutions, bringing other people to discuss, bringing in Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, talking to different kinds of people. And because Bernie didn't show up to the Senate cloture vote, which was a vote that they needed 60 and they only had 47, and Bernie was going to vote no anyway. They're all on Twitter and everywhere. It's talking about how Bernie Sanders should have been there, and he's a senator and he should show up and be there. And I was really pissed off, because there was a lot of ex-Tulsi supporters too, kind of going on that train. Like, where was Bernie Sanders? Why didn't he go vote? this isn't a vote that I want him to vote on or that I care about him voting on, because it's not going to get anywhere. It was one big distraction set to, the whole thing was a giant check to the corporations. It was a giant check to the elite class with zero provisions about how to actually help the working class. And so he had addressed it, actually, when he did his live stream. In the beginning, he was like, yeah, there's a vote. It's just one giant welfare check, and it's disastrous. We need to do better. We need to give people directly $2,000, blah, blah, blah. And he went on and he was like, okay, let's talk about what's going on here. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but everybody is really scared. Everybody is really like anxious. And it's not as much about the coronavirus, sadly, as it is about the economic strain that this whole thing is causing on people. People are losing their jobs. They're being laid off. They're going to be unable to pay their rent in a week. They're, running out of money for food. They're also inside, not being able to communicate. And how do we move forward when people can't address their basic needs, which are their health, their food, and their livelihood? Their home.
Yeah. Well, that bill wasn't completely just a sham. It wasn't a good bill, but it should be. Some people got to get in a room and fucking negotiate a bill, and they're not doing that. And that's the whole thing. And both sides are sucking this up. They're terrible right now, both sides. And once again, it's going to be the American people who are going to suffer the most at the end of the day.
Well, by both sides, I mean, it's literally Nancy Pelosi and then the Donald Trump people. I mean, they're both awful on this. But again, I wouldn't want to waste my time to go in and possibly get coronavirus, because 5 of those people that didn't show up out of the 13 that they needed didn't show up because they have coronavirus. And I don't want Bernie Sanders to go into the Senate, and for what? And instead of addressing and being visible and being out there. So that's the whole point, is that Bernie Sanders has made himself visible. He has made himself accessible to the public. And that's something Joe Biden hasn't done. And
yeah, but they're not going to replace Joe Biden with Bernie Sanders. So if we keep trying to say, okay, they should replace Biden with Bernie Sanders, we're just talking up whatever right now. It's never going to happen. They didn't do it last time when Hillary Clinton almost passed out cold. That's right. What we want. That's not what the establishment wants.
Exactly. But nobody's claiming the establishment is going to do that. What I am saying is it's so blatant, and we can put it in their face as to what is happening with Joe Biden. I'm not the kind to give up and say, oh yeah, you just ignore everything and pretend.
Nobody said you ignore everything, but that's the whole thing. This whole pipe dream to think that Bernie Sanders is going to be the replacement for Joe Biden is nothing more than a pipe dream.
But here's the thing: if you think Andrew Cuomo is going to be the replacement for Joe Biden and they're going to get away with it, you're also wrong, because people are pissed. Nothing is happening. Nothing is getting done for the American people.
And it hasn't been getting done. It hasn't been getting done for a while.
But it's far worse.
This is the straw.
But it's far worse.
That's going to break the camel's back.
If this isn't it, if this pandemic isn't it, I don't know what will.
It's the money. If they don't get the money to the people right now, then that's the thing. And both sides have to get in a room.
I don't think it's equal
get this shit done
on both sides. I mean, I think there's a side. I consider the Nancy Pelosi's and the Donald Trumps, not even Donald Trump's, but the people behind Trump, because Trump was ready to enact socialism and give people money. But it's the Senate that's like, no. And Nancy Pelosi is working with them.
Yeah.
She is refusing to give people the money that they need.
Exactly.
So that's what I mean by, I don't equate like Bernie Sanders with Trump. Because to me, that's just ridiculous. Bernie Sanders is trying to give people money. Donald Trump was trying to do it, and then he turned his back, and then he went with the Senate. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, but there are people actually putting out real solutions, and I disagree. I think it's absolutely important for us to point out how Bernie Sanders is there facing the nation, and maybe people will do something about it. That's all we can do. For the longest time, we've relied on the establishment doing something. Oh, if they're not going to let us, oh, well. That's not how it is. We need to fight back. People are literally, their lives are at stake. It's a lot bigger than just what the Democratic establishment wants.
Yeah, but nothing's getting done, and nobody's brokering a deal. Nobody's getting in the room, and nobody's making it.
Well, I mean, but if we get a deal,
it's completely tribal across the board.
But it's not.
Terrible.
But I mean, it's not just tribalism, though. It's some people don't care if people die, and other people don't want people to die. You can't negotiate sometimes when there's people that literally want to kill people and people that don't. So, I mean, I think there's a way to negotiate if both sides come to care about people. But I'm sorry, the majority of our government, they're psychopaths. They don't care about people. They don't care at all about them.
Stay-at-home Bojo Bojangles, Johnny, you know Bojangles from the South Florida? Well, Boris Johnson, he even gives a warning to his people out there because it seems to be some what they're calling civil disobedience and people ignoring these curfews going out. I think we have it here in the States too as well with the, what is it, the spring breakers? They're still out there partying. Well, Boris Johnson tells the nation that, hey, you know what? The police will arrest your ass. Here we go.
The time has now come for us all to do more. From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. Because the critical thing we must do to stop the disease spreading between households. That is why people will only be allowed to leave their home for the following very limited purposes. Shopping for basic necessities as infrequently as possible. One form of exercise a day, for example, a run, walk or cycle, alone or with members of your household. Any medical need to provide care or to help a vulnerable person, and travelling to and from work, but only where this is absolutely necessary and cannot be done from home. That's all. These are the only reasons you should leave your home. You should not be meeting friends. If your friends ask you to meet, you should say no. You should not be meeting family members who do not live in your home. You should not be going shopping except for essentials like food and medicine. And you should do this as little as you can. And use food delivery services where you can. If you don't follow the rules, the police will have the powers to enforce them, including through fines and dispersing gatherings.
They will have the power, including fun. And he said one form of exercise a day, fam. Does that mean he's going to be clocking you like, oh, there's Fiorella. She's going out. She was doing yoga before. Now she's trying to jog. Go cite her. Is that?
Yeah, it's pretty much what we have here right now.
Pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people talking about that.
They just closed all the LA hiking parks, like the actual public parks. Like if you have your secret hike, you probably might be able to go. I have my spots, but the actual, Runyon Canyon, like Eaton Canyon,
ones, right? All
those Griffith Park, they're all done because what was happening is everybody was going out because they were cooped up and it got really crowded and that there was too many people together and people were going to the beach and
Manhattan Beach had a problem today. They were all out there going having a good time, walking on the boardwalks, going to some outdoor festivities, the golf courses. In Manhattan Beach, the golf courses. It was like, oh my God. So I think they're going to shut that down for good.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny, we have the National Guard in California. Gavin Newsom kind of called in the National Guard. This is a couple days ago. We didn't report on it last show, but they're here to assist him. And I believe we have a shot of them driving down in San Diego. Here it is.
Interesting.
Take a look at this. You sent this picture a couple days after we saw it. Look at that. Tanks, Jeeps, trucks. Martial law is going to be on us.
I don't know.
Nobody knows, right? We're still kind of sitting in our houses going, is this shit for real, dude? Is this for real?
What is that?
Johnny has it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see because some of these people want to get rid of quarantines already, so.
I know Tulsi was up there talking about a quarantine in 5 days in Hawaii, and she's pissed off. She wants it now to stop down and get everything under control. What about this dude on coronavirus here, Johnny? I believe he was in Lost, wasn't he?
Yeah, so his name is, what was his name? Daniel Day Kim, and he played Jin on Lost, which was one of my favorite shows back in the day.
My Lord.
And
Shut
up, Pasta. You're such a hater. You have such bad taste in movies and shows.
It Lost sucks.
No, it didn't. It was actually really good. And Eva agrees with me. Eva, if you're watching. So it was weird. He had this video and he said that he went to the doctor when he started getting the symptoms. He got tested positive for coronavirus and they gave him a cocktail of all these drugs. Azithromycin was one of them. There was he got an inhaler and he got something else, which he thinks is the main thing that helped him. Tamiflu was another one. Yeah. Z-Pak is the azithromycin.
It was Tamiflu, Z-Pack, glycopyrrolate inhaler, and then the last thing was the Trump thing, which was the
malaria
the
thing.
stuff they
the
use for malaria now.
hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah.
Hydroxychloroquine.
So you're a TV doctor. Can you explain to me what that is?
Shut up. You're so ridiculous.
Well, it's the truth. If something goes down, I'm not a doctor. I'm going to still refer to her because she's a TV doctor, at least. She's an expert at Grey's Anatomy. So, I mean, what is that stuff?
Ridiculous.
That's the stuff for malaria, right?
Bam. Yes, it is the medicine that that Trump advocated for, too. Go ahead.
Not to mention the general shortage of medical supplies. This mystifies me, considering we had a several-month head start in preparing for this outbreak. Anyway, if you or your organization can do anything to help our caregivers help us, please consider it. So, given all this, there was no way I would want to use another test kit on myself when it could be used for someone else in need. But the main reason I wanted to post today was because one of the first questions that people asked me was, what medicines did you take? Now, some of my friends even asked me that before they asked how I was doing, which was funny. But I think it speaks to people's real need for help and information right now. So, not just sharing it with my friends, I wanted to share with all of you the medications I use to help recover. Before I do, though, I need to say this in bold letters. Obviously, I am not a doctor, nor am I a lawyer, though I have played them on TV. I've always wanted to say that. So please don't take my word as that of a medical professional. I also don't know all the proper legalese to protect myself in these situations, so forgive me if I don't use all the right disclaimers, okay? That said, here is a treatment protocol I followed as prescribed by my amazing doctor. It was what's called a drug cocktail, which means it's a combination of different drugs. It consisted of Tamiflu, which is an antiviral, the antibiotic azithromycin, more commonly known as a Z-Pack, a glycopyrrolate inhaler that was used to ease breathing and the inflammation that's commonly associated with COVID. And here's what I consider to be the secret weapon: hydroxychloroquine. This is a common antimalarial drug that has been used with great success in Korea in their fight against the coronavirus. And yes, this is the drug that the president mentioned the other day. It is also the drug that Dr. Anthony Fauci cautioned us about. He said that evidence that the drug was promising is anecdotal, and that is correct. It means it wasn't studied and it's only based on personal accounts. Well, add my name to those personal accounts because I am feeling better.
Okay, so story here. I used to get really, really bad coughs like 10 years ago. Really, really sick, super sick. And I would get that kind of cough that was really dry, and it was like super, you could hear it everywhere. People thought I was like dying. And I would get it all the time. So I would sometimes go to school with it and like whatever. And then eventually I went to the doctor. And the one doctor finally said, hey, you have this pneumonia, but you're also developing beginnings of asthma. And they prescribed me the same exact thing. I'm not sure if it was the hydroxychloroquine, but everything else, the Tamiflu, the inhaler, the azithromycin, all of that I took, and I'm telling you guys, I have not had that cough since. I don't know what the heck it does, but I got better. I have not gotten like that kind of cough ever. Pasta knows, I don't know if he's ever seen me really be sick, and if you have access to that, I would at the very least just keep those medicines at bay because you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
And if Fiorella says it and Daniel Day says it, they're TV doctors.
You're so dumb.
Believe them. Fiorella is qualified to be a TV doctor or a TV lawyer.
So ridiculous.
Anthony Maldonado says there will be no cue cards when going against Trump. 4 more years for Trump it is.
Yep.
Keep fighting the fight, progressives. Can't stop. Won't
Yep.
stop. Thank you,
Won't
Anthony
stop.
Maldonado. Kevin Dorr, Jimmy's long-lost brother, says, no, the GOP bill was money to CIT, $1,200 per person, max 300, 3,500 family of 4. We saw that. Dem bill basically the same, but pork to unrelated things like $35 million to the Kennedy senator. Yes, I know what you're saying. But also there was a lot of other money that was going to certain financial factions that we don't have to really put into this one bill. It should be a separate bill like Rashida's. I don't say it has to be Rashida's, just separate on what we're going to do for the American people, how we're going to do it. They did it through tax credits that you can apply for right away. Not good enough. We need a check coming right away. Manny, number one issue in America is voter fraud. Time to fight. You're telling me, Manny. It's been fight. Kevin Dorr, again, not for welfare, for corporations, but not against saving the corporations with many strings attached. That's a true argument because big businesses employ people. Where are they going to go to after? People need to go back to work. Jobs could disappear back to 1929. We understand that, Kevin, so I think there's blame to go around on both sides.
But here's the thing. The problem is that once we give those money to those corporations, none of that money ever goes to the employees. It goes to them and making sure that they keep their bases covered. It does not go to the employees.
Republicans were saying that in that bill there was measures to prevent them from going to CEOs or buybacks, whatnot. With some of the Democrats says what has to have more protections in there.
Yeah.
But they were kind of putting those protections in that bill. The Democrats could have negotiated a better position rather than saying, "Hey, we want to lower the emissions on the airline situation."
Well, the counter argument to that is once you have a bill that goes through, once it goes through, it's pretty much impossible to touch it up and get it back. So if you don't have a good thing from the start, you're going to be screwed. And I'm sorry, but that wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough,
but it was a work in progress. And now we scratched off the drawing board once again. Republicans and Democrats, it's the 22nd. Get your ass in the fucking room and get something done. I don't care what it is. Just help out the American people right now. They need food. Megan Morales, thank you so much for the super chat contribution.
Hey,
it
Megan.
is always appreciated on the couch. You two are spot on. Thank you. I wasn't informed. End 2016 election voter disintegrity because of mainstream media, and I'm quite surprised more indie poly left tube aren't covering it in real time. RN.
Yeah.
Real time, and these primaries very openly were clearly
right now.
No F's givens right now.
Sorry, I'm like, what?
And these primaries very openly were clearly no F's were given. Nobody gave a shit, and you two were spot on. I wasn't informed about the negligence in 2016, and it was serious voter fraud then. And guess what? We're going to talk more about that.
Yeah, we're going to continue.
We've been talking to some election integrity activists, ladies and gentlemen. We've been getting an arsenal full of this shit. We're going to talk about what happened in 2016. We're going to talk about what happened in 2020, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Stay with the convo couch.
Michigan, especially.
Oh, my Lord. Camshwari Kate, Bernie, stay. Remember HRC's comment? RFK. I remember that comment. He was like, I should stay in the race. That was when she was going against Barack Obama, and she cited Rob F. Kennedy Jr. getting shot shortly before the primary ended. So that's why she was going to stay in when people were telling her that she should bail out because she didn't have the math in her favor. It's just funny when the shoe's on the other foot.
Exactly.
It's funny when the shoe's on the other foot.
There's still a lot of people that need to vote, but it's the middle of a pandemic. I mean, who knows? They might suspend everything.
Okay, so Patrick Steele says, and thank you for the super chat contribution, always appreciated on this couch, what's the basis behind the claimed inaccuracy argument against exit polls when the U.S. uses a +2% and the UN uses a -4% margin of variance as the official standard? Well, if we're going along with what they use to remove the Bolivian fucking leader, then those exit polls are way off. They make ours look good. Yeah. Ours are way off or further off than the ones they use as an excuse to remove Evo Morales and let it happen.
It's +or -4, actually. And we're way ahead of that.
Biden, +15 in California. Bernie, -11. That's a 26% discrepancy. It also eliminates Joe Biden from viability in the state. And 160 delegates would be automatically transferred onto Bernie's number if he protested this election right now. But guess what? It's too late. They had too much time. They fucked with the ballots, and now we can't prove it wrong.
And the thing is, it's exit polls are not like a random poll that Reuters or CNN does. Exit polls are real data. So as voters are exiting the polls, which is why they're called exit polls, they are asked who they voted for. And so those numbers are being tabulated. And so another thing that is really suspect is that they started reporting the early votes first. So that's why you guys saw 0% reporting Joe Biden won South Carolina, because they were already counting, which is illegal. And if it's not illegal, it should be. But I'm pretty sure.
They're not. I mean, unless South Carolina has their own fucking law.
Yeah.
In California, they're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to
get.
You're allowed to get them ready for tally, but you're not allowed to count them. In other words, you can't have any information on the early voting. You can't obtain a unfair advantage as the establishment to know that your candidate is locked in the early voting, and then you can suppress the late vote like they did this primary season, like they did in California, Texas. Oh, it's just new systems, and it's going to take young people 7 hours to vote. That was how long the last voter waited to get that fucking vote in. Please, people, wake up. Golden Sun, thank you for the super chat contribution, says, hashtag wake party paper ballots, plank yellow vest / hats. Yellow vest, yellow hats. Let's get them in there, Golden Sun. Let's hit the streets.
Whose streets?
The streets. We can't. The coronavirus streets. What's going on in Madrid, fam?
So, in Madrid, this is really, really hard to hear. It's really, really sad, and this is what I'm kind of afraid of. So I'm gonna read this to you guys before I actually. Why isn't it showing up? That's weird. Okay, there we go. Before we watch the video, because the video is in Spanish, but pretty much gonna translate what goes on, because the guy says, he comes up and he says, hello, good morning. I don't know if you want to. No, I guess I'll just read it. Hello, good morning. It's really hard for me to do this video. Tears keep falling on my face. I've already received several audio messages where they're telling us that people over 65 years old are having their respirators removed, and they're sedating them so they die because there are not enough respirators for everyone, and they want to give them to the younger people. I'll just put the audio and see if I can calm down, and then I'll comment afterwards. Please hear this and share it on every social media platform. We have to fulfill our duty to our nation and with our elders, and we can't let them die in this undignified manner. We can't. And then the audio starts, a woman, and she says, well, the situation in Madrid, to surmise, is absolutely outrageous. The politicians are incapable of seeing or can't see what's happening. There's way more patients per nurses and doctors, and there are no supplies. There's no space. There's no respirators. Look, we have to sedate and grab many grave patients and hold their hand because their families can't be by their sides, so we can help them die, so we can free up some respirators for people younger than 65. So suck it up, dust yourself, and go to work knowing you're going to have to let many people die. Cry at home, cry at night, and go to work the next morning. This is absolutely essential. They need to close Madrid once and for all, and they need to give Madrid supplies, because if not, we won't be able to contain the spread of this son of a bee virus, and everyone's going to die. So please share and let this message be known. And you can play the video, but Johnny will understand.
Hola, buenos días. Me cuesta transmitir mucho este mensaje, se me están cayendo las lágrimas. Me han llegado ya un par de audios en el que se está diciendo que personas mayores de 65 años les están quitando los respiradores en Madrid y las están sedando para que mueran, porque no hay respiradores para todos y se los quieren dar a los más jóvenes. Os pongo el audio, a ver si me puedo tranquilizar, y después haré los comentarios pertinentes. Por favor, escucharlo y compartir este vídeo en todas las redes sociales. Tenemos un deber con esta nación y con nuestros mayores, y no les podemos dejar morir de esta manera tan indigna. No podemos.
Bueno, la situación en Madrid, os la voy a resumir, es absolutamente dramática. Los políticos son incapaces de ver o no quieren ver lo que está ocurriendo. Hay una brutalidad de pacientes por enfermera y por médico. No hay material, no hay espacio, no hay respiradores. Mirad, a mucha gente, a muchos pacientes se les tiene que sedar y cogerles de la manita, porque la familia no puede estar a su lado, no puede estar con ellos ayudándoles a morir, para liberar respiradores para la gente menor de 65 años. Así que chúpate esta, átate los machos, vete a trabajar con este panorama, sabiendo que vas a tener que dejar morir a mucha gente. Llora en tu casa, llora por la noche, vete a la mañana siguiente a trabajar. Esto es absolutamente demencial. Tienen que cerrar Madrid de una vez y tienen que dotar Madrid de material, porque si no, no se va a poder frenar y no se va a poder contener la propagación de este bicho hijo de puta. Aquí va a morir hasta el tato, va a morir hasta el apuntador. Entonces, por favor, compartir, difundir, pero que esto se sepa.
is a form of triage. What they're doing. So they're deciding, okay, these patients are very at risk, so the chances of us putting all of our forces in, it's just not worth it. And they're older, so we're gonna have to let the younger people live. And that's pretty much what it's close to triage. Triage is supposed to be when the people are pretty much like terminal. I don't think all of these people are terminal, but they have to assess who is more at risk. And it's really sad in society that all of this could be prevented, because they mentioned the politicians. They said that they're not doing anything. They didn't close Madrid. They're not taking the precautions that they need. And this is why we're in the situation. And they put the doctors in the situation.
I see a film the other day with a lot of people just laying on the floor in Madrid, just laying all over the floor. They just were not set with this. They were not ready. This is a global crisis. And as humans, we did not handle it well. Our leaders did not handle this well.
Yeah.
We need to change all around. You know what I'm saying? And speaking of that, I believe that you saw something that Trump is kind of signaling a change in the coronavirus strategy that could clash with health experts, right?
Yeah. So Donald Trump basically said that he was going to make a decision after the 15-day period. And as the Senate Democrats, of course, blocked the relief package. But here's the thing. Donald Trump wants to basically stop this. He wants to basically end the quarantine. And he said something. He said, we cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself. At the end of the 15-day period, we will make a decision as to which way we want to go. And he's continued to talk about how, our economy is suffering and blah, blah, blah. And so he might end the quarantine early. You would think that this would cause more outrage than anything. And I mean, among progressive people, of course, they're like, what? This is so irresponsible. People are going to die. Because we really don't know. We've just started in the United States. I mean, and look at how New York is. I mean, we've just started. And yes, it's not that deadly, which is something that Donald Trump mentioned. Like, it's not, it has a very, low death rate, but that's not the point. The point is the mass infections, people going to the hospital, people not being able to breathe. And then, of course, if somebody else has an accident for something entirely different, they die. That's already happened because there's not enough, not enough personnel, not enough supplies to take care of these people. And so here are some of the reactions from some of these people, and it's really disturbing. So Buck Sexton on Twitter said, America's going to have to go back to work very soon, even if that means there are more casualties from COVID-19 than would occur under this continued extreme shutdown. It's a hard thing to say, but it's really, and we need to accept and act on it. It is reality.
That Facebook right up there, Johnny. Top of that page. Oh, down below. There it is.
So
who is Buck Sexton?
I don't know. Some freaking hack with a blue check mark. And Jesse Kelly said, I just got to be honest. I'm weirded out by this whole thing. Is there another time in history when a country purposely destroyed its own economy? I'm not talking about mistakes or bad policies or war. I'm talking about purposely pointing at its citizens and barring them from work. So now this is all about, people, just the economy again. And Matt Walsh, I'm not an expert, but why wouldn't this work? Open the economy up, let young and healthy people work and feed themselves and their families. Quarantine nursing homes, tell other especially at-risk people to remain home for now. Test aggressively and quarantine, blah, blah, blah. And I think that cut off there. And then Lloyd Blankfein said, extreme measures to flatten the virus, quote, curve is sensible for a time to stretch out the strain on health infrastructure. But crushing the economy, jobs, and morale is also a health issue and beyond. Within a very few weeks, let those with a lower risk to the disease return to work.
No, why put yourself at risk? Why are we putting... I mean, this is so fucking stupid to what? To make an economy that's made for the poor to serve the rich get back to work?
That's the thing.
No, use our fucking tax dollars or whatever, MMT, create some fucking money to give it to people for food and let them stay at home until we are all in the clear, right?
Right, but this is why I have such a problem with this. This is a very disassociated from humanity and empathy way of thinking. We're putting more stock in our economy than we are putting on making our people healthy. And the worst part is, who would return to work? Who needs to return to work for the economy to be fine? It's the working class people, the middle class people that are out there going to be exposing themselves
while the rich
sit home because they might be like, oh, I'm not going to work. They say that, But do you think they're really going to expose themselves? No, they're not. They're going to be staying at home, all safe, and the only people working and exposing themselves, guess what, are going to be the poor people, working class, the middle class, and that they don't care. Why? Because to them, the economy and protecting the economy is what's important. And instead of finding a solution by giving people money so people can survive until we all get through this as a community, as the country, as a nation, as one nation under justice for all, they are saying, oh, forget those people. Yeah, and forget the old people. Yeah, like screw them, right? Too? It's disgusting, you know?
Yeah.
It is disgusting what I'm seeing here. Yeah. We are putting no value on life and so much value on money.
And remember this, boys and girls, money is just something that's made up.
It's literally made up.
Made up. Mad Wolf, Trump must go, but we can't have Biden either. Well,
then get ready for the pitchforks.
I nominate Queen Fiorella.
That's what it's going to take. I do not want to be queen.
Princess Fiorella.
No, that's even worse.
Duke is this
council.
A
council of people.
Duchess.
That's what I would say.
Duchess Isabel Mallorca. What else do we have with Pelosi's plan, though? You got this.
You kind of talked about it. I mean,
I just wanted to show. Yeah, it's saying it's not available. So.
Oh,
you got to hear what you got to say.
It does that all the time.
Jesus Christ! Nancy's coronavirus bill wants $35 million for JFK Performing Arts Center. Democrats never get to use the word slush fund again, ever. And yeah, there's other things in there. Pork barrel politics for all my gambling people out there. Ungie knows. Shit, fucking when they killed the first time they killed the internet gambling.
Yeah,
they put it into like a Patriot Act like bill. An Arizona guy's bill that they passed through, and it had nothing to do with it. Once again, in this bill, you got nothing to do with these things. Just straight up come up with a plan. Tell the American people that, listen, we're going to negotiate on your benefit and your benefit. We're not going to allow them to add anything in, and we're not going to add anything. We're just going to concentrate on you and get it done for you. Now, I put Dan Crenshaw's video in here because Dan Crenshaw kind of goes after Nancy Pelosi, whatnot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and once again, the spin on this, I watched a clip on the Fox 5 on how they spun the situation, whatnot. At the end of the day, the Democrats are going to look worse than the Republicans if they don't come back with something. And if they don't follow suit, like I said, like Rashida, they should be Rashida, Tulsi's plan, one of those plans. Just get one of those plans up forward and say, hey, listen, you don't put anything in this, we don't put anything in this. Let's just take care of the American people. That's what we need to do. But here's Dan Crenshaw, the eye patch in Texas, talking about his disdain for the Democrats.
He looks like the evil guy from
Cedar, Texas, just outside Houston. And this place is struggling. They might have to close down. This is the kind of place that would be saved by the stimulus package that we were hoping to vote on as of yesterday. But Democrats torpedoed it. This is the kind of business that would have access to an SBA loan that would then be forgiven for rent, utilities, and payroll. That bill would have kept employees attached to their businesses. We're in a pandemic right now, which means we have to press pause on the economy. We've got to press pause on the economy. We're asking businesses to close. We're asking them to stop serving customers. If we're going to ask them to do that, we have to give them the capital to survive during the pause in economic activity. We have to make sure they can keep paying employees and their rent. That's what that bill was going to do. For small businesses, those loans would just be forgiven. For big businesses, they would be loans. Democrats don't like big business. Democrats, I don't think, understand basic economics. They don't understand that when your fellow American loses a job, it doesn't matter whether they're from a small business or a large business. Large businesses need capital. There was $500 billion that would be loanable to big business. Democrats hated that. They hated it. Even though within the bill there was parameters in place. No increases for executive pay, no stock buybacks, and keeping people on payroll. All of the protections were in there. And our economy needs it badly. It needs it badly. We're shedding jobs like crazy. Businesses are closing today and tomorrow and the day after that. This is no time for partisan politics, but that's what the Democrats wanted to do. It's the most disgusting thing I've seen. Why are they doing it? What do they want in the bill? What's their counter negotiation? This is going to make you really upset. Here's just a few items. It's things like they want collective bargaining rights for federal workers. That has nothing to do with the coronavirus. And by the way, federal workers are still getting paid, just like most government workers are. Guess what else they wanted? They want carbon emissions caps on the airlines if they're gonna.
Okay, so I kind of disagree, and I agree too. What Nancy Pelosi did, of course, and Chuck Schumer, they voted against the stimulus package. That was the House. However, what the Republicans are trying to get in there are also like not just big business, like corporations before that have zero guarantee on the working class. It's not a direct aid to the working class. So again, we go back to, yes, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are awful. They completely voted out a package that offered direct aid. But when it comes to the Senate was trying to offer things that were completely corporate friendly and giant checks to the corporations. So that's not okay either. They're both trying to get whatever the hell they want, and neither of them are really putting out anything for us, the people. The only people that have said anything are Bernie Sanders, Rashida Tlaib, Tulsi. And Ilhan Omar mentioned something, but the people who have introduced the bills are Rashida Tlaib and Tulsi. And Ilhan co-sponsored the UBI. I mean, we need something, and that's what we need. We don't need to get involved into this and that. Yeah. Not until working class people get money, you're not going to help anybody, because you have to help small businesses. I think small businesses should be separate than corporations, because small businesses don't have the capital to continue paying people, and they have to lay them off.
And that's a fair argument. But coming in and say, oh, we want this money for the Kennedy Center. Yeah. Oh, we want this money for our Green New Deal. Oh, we want this money to restrict airlines.
And their Green New Deal, I understand
these are important issues, but you don't throw that pork belly shit. You can say what you just said right there and say, okay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'll put in a guarantee for small businesses, but I'm not going to put a guarantee in for big businesses, whatnot. Not only the fact, I mean, even if the Republicans came back like, well, we have these protections. They can't give themselves buybacks. They can't give themselves raises and whatnot. You can negotiate from that standpoint of view, but you don't negotiate to get this other shit in, and you don't do this shit so late. The time is ticking. This is the most impressed I've ever been with Rashida Tlaib. You know what I'm saying? I've always liked her, but she has never been my favorite member of the squad. I thought she pushed too much for impeachment without a proper cause and not understanding the repercussions that it would actually help Trump. But when she came out with this particular bill and she put this out here, I was so happy and proud of her, because it was like, we're not going to talk about anything else. We're just going to talk directly about aid to the American people. Now, like I said, if you, and the bill wanted to give credit cards, like little small prepaid cards, and that was for every single person in America. So undocumented workers would get that stuff. And I think that's perfectly okay in this situation, because if we don't take care of them now, anybody right now, we got to take care of everybody right now, because if we put people in a position to go and have to make money outside of a quarantine or outside of, staying indoors, we're putting them at risk to put everybody else at risk.
It's happening. The people who are street vendors here, who are likely undocumented, are still going out on the streets, because guess what? They need money. How are they going to survive if they don't have money?
Heard the ice cream truck today.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Moonbeam says, I predict a French Revolution 2.0 after this.
Oh,
Moonbeam,
I'm ready.
I hope to God. I got my yellow hat.
Yellow hat.
I got my yellow hat.
Okay. Fam, you're in the wrong dimension. Are you
still with the Warren bullshit, fam?
Fam, who?
Still with the Warren bullshit.
Who?
Your girl, Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, God.
New York Times, LA Times opinion. The coronavirus has made it abundantly clear the world needs Elizabeth Warren to be vice president. Fam, the world, ladies and gentlemen.
I honestly, a lot of people were like, oh, if she goes with Joe Biden, it would just hurt Bernie. No, it wouldn't, actually. You guys are so wrong on that. If she goes with Biden, it would even be a bigger landslide. Are you kidding me? Do you know how despised this is by both now progressives and the right?
She's got a plan. Green bombs.
I don't know why people keep pushing her, to be honest.
So coronavirus updates.
So Johnny, do you have any coronavirus updates? No? Okay.
Oh, let's do it. What's this video? Is your microphone on? Because people got to hear you, Johnny. Johnny Sue on the ones and twos. You know, a lot of people are starting to bite that right now. What's his name over there on the ones and twos helping out? It's like, y'all biting my stuff, dude. Those are Technique 1200s.
You should have copyrighted your
Johnny
shit.
Clean Beats.
Just kidding. So I have a quick facts. Oh, so it's been going up, you guys. 380,324 total confirmed cases, 16,512 deceased, 10,546 serious. And those are the updates. Right now, we are third, China, Italy, and the United States. And then as far as the USA itself, we have the country of the states of New York, number 1, New Jersey climbed up there. No, as number 2 now. Interesting. They weren't up there as some of the most affected states. Washington State, and then we're right behind Washington State, California.
Oh, we can do better, guys. Come on, we can do better. But like Johnny says, how many people really have the coronavirus? We just don't have the test to get it.
So I got this link from Eva, and it says click on these options to get to check to see if you have corona, and then if you can get the test. And I think you only get the test like if you have the symptoms and if you're 65 and older.
So no test for you.
Yeah. Hold on, let me pull up that link.
You know where they got a bunch of tests? In Venezuela. Russia just sent them to them.
Oh.
Like 100,000, I heard.
Russia, can you send us some tests?
10,000 or 100,000 tests or something, yeah.
Oh, these communist socialist countries, they're just so terrible.
Yeah, and Cuba has the thing. That's what I'm talking about.
To be honest, Russia, though, isn't even communist, but it's just hilarious how, like...
authoritarian.
It is. It is.
Look, okay, so...
It is. You're going to deny that it is?
Stop.
It absolutely is.
So are we.
So that doesn't mean that it's not.
Yeah, but that's manufacturing
Both can exist.
consent
No,
like they're the bad
no,
guy.
it's not.
The Russian people
We're
are
authoritarian.
fine.
Stop.
Please, we got to worry about ourselves.
No.
Yeah.
Somebody check this guy because that's ridiculous. You can't just no.
Yeah, we're not authoritarian. They're picking our president.
No, we're worse. We're an oligarchy. I mean, we're on our way to. Well, yeah, but Putin has been in power for how long? Like, there are certain good things and bad things of both. You can say that about China too.
Okay, so on this website, lacovidprod.service/now.com, it says schedule a COVID-19 test, and this is the city of Los Angeles. So it says there's information. Find out if you're eligible for a test. So please answer. Are you under a mandatory 14-day quarantine due to a confirmed COVID-19 exposure with more than 7 days of the quarantine remaining? No, I'm not that. No one's told me that. Are you experiencing flu-like symptoms such as cough, fever, and shortness of breath? Not really, but I'm going to say yes. I've been coughing. Are you over 65 years old or suffering a serious chronic medical condition? No, I'm younger. We're sorry, but you're not eligible for testing at this time. If you're experiencing symptoms, please contact your doctor. If your symptoms are severe in nature, please call 911 or seek immediate medical help.
Because we don't have the test. You know, and there's a lot of information. You go back on this stuff. You go watch some old school Jackson Facts, some old school Jason Burmis. You watch some old school Slow Days News with Steve Poikonen. They'll show you a lot of evidence that this fucking thing was man-made. A lot of evidence. That's all I'm saying. So, and like we said, Cuba has the cure, right? They have the vaccine, right? And then Cuba just show up in Italy to standing applause. It was some of the best thing I ever fucking saw. All these Cuban doctors coming off the planes with Cuba flags and Italian flags, going there to help save lives.
They need to go to Spain next because they're doing really bad too. They're
gonna have to go everywhere. They're right there. They're from Italy to Spain.
Hey, are we welcoming them here, you guys? I mean, we should.
We can't because they're bad. They're evil. They're awful. And the liberals, who are supposed to be pushing for peace with these countries, are pushing for more war with them. There it is. Here they are. This is beautiful. Coming right off the plane, fam. Viva la Italiana. Milan.
Can't even be real Italian.
They're giving elbows. Elbows. You hear this? There's another one of them walking inside, like the airport, to a bunch of people just waiting there, applauding. Here they are. Look at this, Johnny. Look at this. Sorry.
This is why I always make that case. Okay. We get it. And I'm glad Rand Paul got coronavirus, that libertarian.
Hell yeah, fam. Stand up and applause. Free market my ass. Cuba, baby.
Well, tell
Cuba
your
does some
libertarian
great
friend
things. And then...
Tell your libertarian friends that, Pasta.
Whatever, dude.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Cuba,
Rumpelcone.
baby.
Okay. Shout
Cuba.
out to Rumpelcone.
Shout out to Ronnie P. and Salami. Johnny, got something else?
No. Okay. So I want to bring this up. So our friend Jen Abreu works in the criminal justice system, and she posted this about San Diego. She said, guards at CDCR San Q, California Institution for Men, Lancaster, and Mule Creek have tested positive for the virus and have infected the prisoners incarcerated there. So the guards have infected the prisoners. Several men have been isolated and are under observation. We all know how this story ends, though. I'm getting from inside the facilities from men tell me that they're not even testing people, no checks, and no extra provisions for cleaning and sanitation. So there's a full panic inside right now. They're all just sitting there waiting to get it, some waiting to die. And if we go here on the link, and then it talks about 3 cases of COVID at the California Department of Corrections. And the authorities are looking into releasing nonviolent inmates from jails to prevent the spread of COVID in close confinement. There are currently no confirmed cases among those incarcerated, according to the officials.
Nonviolent people, get them out of fucking jail, fam.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep,
I mean,
that's
nonviolent.
It's the humane thing to do. But
Jesus.
On Rikers, though, Rikers, obviously, as you guys know, is a famous prison in New York.
I know about Rikers from the inside.
Ma'am,
sorry.
Nobody believes you.
Some time of Rikers on the inside, dog. You ain't know about Rikers on. Y'all don't know about Gun Club Road, Florida, South Florida, Palm Beach.
As of March 22nd, 2020, which was yesterday, 2 dorms of 45 inmates at Rikers are refusing to leave our dorms for work duties or for meals. We take these actions in protest of the lack of personal protective equipment and cleaning supplies provided to inmates, the crowded living conditions imposed on us prior to the pandemic and made worse by the daily addition of new inmates exposed to the COVID-19 virus, the arbitrary disconnection of our phones for 3 hours on the morning of Sunday, March 22nd, 2020. We demand the same calls issued by the Board of Corrections that all inmates over 50 with parole violations at high risk due to health conditions with less than a year of sentence time be immediately released. We do this in solidarity with the striking prisoners of Hudson County. So they're not the only prisoners striking, but this is a big deal. We're seeing them rise up. We're seeing them kind of say this is enough. I mean, we know how we mistreat people in jail, in prisons anyway, to begin with. You add a pandemic to that, and that's a disaster. That's a disaster waiting to happen, you guys. And it's bad because the inmates were infected, obviously, by who? The guards, because the inmates are already isolated. So they're not going to be, infected in any way unless there's like a new person that came in there.
Trash Man, Jake, and by the way, this is on my talking when people talk about, oh, Pasta, you're pro-China, and I'm like, well, listen, the one thing I want to get about is that, we jail more of a percentage of our citizens than any country in the world, okay? Now we have a bunch of non-violent people locked up for marijuana and other fucking things, and they're sitting there, and they're at risk, high risk, trapped because of this fucking virus out there, and what are we going to do? We're just going to leave them in prison? Non-violent? I mean, let them go already. This is disgusting. We have so many people that shouldn't be jailed anyways here in America.
Sure. America sucks. That doesn't mean other countries don't suck too. That's all.
Okay, fam. We got it.
Fam. Yeah.
Let's clean our own house first.
Yeah,
Trash Man Jake, he'll help us clean our own face, right? He who cast the first stone, Trash. I got you, baby. George W. Bush declined Fidel Castro's offer when Katrina hit the Gulf Coast. So Trump would probably decline what the Cuban government offered.
Of course he will. Yeah.
If the Cuban government offered.
He's not really an anti-interventionist guy, so that's what proves it too. One of the last things I do want to cover is the rent freeze strike. So there is a movement going on right now where people are deciding not to pay their rents. Why? Because the government hasn't given anybody any sort of help in any way, shape, or form. And of course, rents are due in a week. And so Seema Hernandez made a great tweet, and this has been going all over the internet. And she said, the rent mortgage is due April 1st. How are Americans supposed to pay when everyone has lost their job? Congress checks won't arrive for weeks. We need a moratorium on rent and mortgage payments now. Pass it on. So this is a rent-free and a rent strike. Now, apart from that is what these people are doing right here, where they're talking about the rent strike 2020. And he says right here, fun fact, the Yellow Vest movement started with 1 million people signing an online petition over several weeks. We have already hit 2 million signatures. And Joshua for Congress, who's running in Washington State, said, I have been called irresponsible, naive, etc. for calling for a rational rent freeze under threat of a rent strike movement. Millions already can't pay rent on the 1st. We either build a mass movement in the next week or condemn millions to a lifetime of debt to their landlords. And so it's what people are doing, and I don't think I have a picture there, but what people are doing is they're putting a white shirt or a white cloth outside of their apartments, mainly apartments, or homes, where it shows that they're not going to pay the rent. And so a lot of people, though, find themselves in a conundrum because some of their landlords aren't necessarily rich people, especially in places like California, some of the smaller landlords. And if they don't pay the rent, then the landlord can't pay their rent. Mortgage, and so then it just comes, it's a whole thing. But here's my whole thing on this. So what? If they don't help us, if they don't help the American people, if Congress isn't acting, what do? You can't go out and protest because we're in a pandemic. You can't violate that. They'll arrest you or charge you a felony. It's a felony, by the way, if you violate the terms of the quarantine. But what you can do is show that you aren't going to participate in the economy. They've pushed us out of the economy. They've had to lay off people. Restaurants are closed. They can't continue to afford paying rents. So what do? Yeah. Without us, the economy doesn't function. So if we take ourselves out of the equation, we show exactly how much this economy relies on the working and middle class. And we completely say, you know what? We're not going to pay these rents until you guys help and you guys give us something, because we're not going to have money for food. We're not going to be able to do anything.
Exactly what I was about to say.
And that's what we need to do.
You're not going to spend your last bit of dollars on food. You're not going to spend your last bit of dollars just in case you need medicine.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. I ain't paying the fucking rent. Come throw my ass out. Go try. I ain't doing it, man. No way. No way. And Congress better get their act together.
Hold on. This is really important. I just read on the one of the comments there under Joshua's tweet. Mm-hmm. It has a picture here. It says, all right, tenants, listen up. Are you out of the job due to COVID-19? Probably you are if you're a server or waiter at a restaurant. If so, the first thing you need to do is figure out if your local courts have shut down their civil dockets. In all likelihood, they probably have. If your civil courts aren't shut down, then you're out of luck. If your civil courts are shut down, then proceed. Simply put, your landlord can't evict you without an eviction order, and eviction orders are granted only through civil courts.
Yeah.
Without a civil court to hear your landlord's motion to evict, they can't legally evict you. Now, I know there's going to be some landlords that come in here saying we can still forcibly evict you with a private company. If your landlord tries that, be sure to verbally resist them, videotape it, and then sue their asses off for wrongfully evicting you during the COVID-19 crisis without an eviction order. There will be loads of attorneys ready to leap on the opportunity of suing the landlords that force out their tenants during a crisis.
Oh, come on, read it right.
And no jury will feel sympathy for them.
He says for suing the fuck-faced landlords that force out their tenants. The fuck-faced landlords. And
you can tell a socialist wrote this.
It's like I told you, like if those courts are shut down, they can't do dick. Remember we watched Always Sunny in Philadelphia? They tried to do it with a private company. Can't do it. Need the courts.
It says there will also be landlords that will try the whole, we can make your life miserable while you're refusing to leave, and they'll say things like, we'll cut off your power and your water and lock your doors. Well, folks, the truth of the matter is that the leaseholder holds a property interest in the property that they're leasing under and during the time of said lease. In other words, as a person with a property interest in the leased property.
Can you share that?
Other people can't intentionally and harmfully interfere with your use and enjoyment of said property, including the landlord, without a court order of your consent. Ultimately, if your landlord starts fucking with your utilities, or things like your doors, windows, walkways, then you can call the police on them.
Wow.
Civil courts are closed, but the criminal ones can't/won't shut down. Interesting.
Yeah.
Due
Well,
to there being
yeah.
very strict deadlines that need to be met for incarcerated individuals.
So we also have something else in the chat too, Johnny. Not only can your landlord not evict you, but it says, speaking of Washington, we had a jailbreak here, so they're not waiting to be released. Thank you for the super chat contribution,
guys-
Anthony Chisholm, and it's look at
Thank you,
this,
Anthony.
fam.
Wow. Okay. So here's what I want to say, though. Inmates escape Yakima County Jail in Washington.
There's a
video. Let's
There's
play
a
the
vid.
video. You guys,
No, it's
this
in
is
the
really
chat.
important. The movement
chat.
of people rising up, right? This is what happens. You push people to the brim.
There it is.
You put them in a situation, they're gonna rise up. This is why this is a moment where all of us rise up.
Yeah.
Yeah, fam.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
Whatever, fam. Whatever. Not playing.
It's not playing.
Oh.
You got to click on the whole video itself and take it to YouTube. That's what you got to do with those things.
Oh, that's unfortunate. But
Anyways, but they ain't waiting
It said,
in Washington.
It says the inmates escaped around 7:10 p.m. local time on Monday night. Yakima Herald reported they were last seen wearing jail-issued clothes and maybe either barefoot or have orange sandals, according to authorities. This literally just happened. Literally, just like a few hours ago.
There it is, John. Want to get a video, John? I want to get something. I want to see somebody running.
Get him? Oh, there.
Oh, shit! Ow!
Oh, shit!
Oh, run!
Yeah!
Hey, look at him over there. He's like, run!
He's juking him. He's outrunning that fucking cop.
At what point does the cop go, oh, fuck this shit. I ain't fucking getting this coronavirus and all this shit. I ain't getting hurt.
Dude, but that makes it worse because now we don't know if those people were
Johnny,
infected.
look at Johnny got a different angle.
Karen's like, I hope it's my friend.
I hope it's your friend too.
Dude, we gotta get the video, Johnny. Oh, please, look at this.
Wow.
Watch this, guy. Run!
The music with it is so perfect. This is hilarious.
My libertarian friends, fam, they hate the cops.
Well, that's the one thing we can agree
Can't
with.
stand the cops. I like to look at the times that the things we agree on, not the things we disagree.
there's
But I don't
some
really
we
hate cops.
disagree.
I wish the system was better for reforming the cops. That and how we pick cops.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's stupid. The training. All the cops should have, what's that? Jiu-jitsu and Aikido training.
Yoga
to
training
Take
is what they
yoga,
should have.
something all take people down without shooting them kind of shit.
calm. Yeah.
So we have 334 people watching on the Convo Couch YouTube. We have an 84-minute streams. We about hit our time. It's coming on that 90-minute mark. We want to thank you so much for helping us out. We do still have a GoFundMe. Listen, we're assuming that life is going to resume, and we're going to get back out there and do some more work for you guys. We were doing some great work. I think it was some of the work I was really proud of.
Yeah.
Fiorella going to Iowa, Nevada. We all going to New Hampshire, following what's going on. Johnny has them in New Hampshire saying on film they have a SIM card there. You know, we followed everything that happened in Los Angeles. Fiorella was at the caucus where they did a coin flip after they known it was, and you said they reversed it eventually, went back.
Yeah, we got the delegate.
We caught him
back.
cheating though, right there, and red-handed. And so there's so many things that we found out what's going on when it comes to our election integrity across the country that we really have to address.
It's all conspiracy,
and it hasn't been addressed. So we're going to keep
conspiracy.
diving into it. It's going to be one of our quests, and a lot of other fun things to come as we're Corona crazy, aren't we?
It's conspiracy, fam. It's all a conspiracy.
Okay, so for Pasta Jardula, oh, you got one more. He's got another one. Johnny's just getting crazy today.
Okay, wait. No, this is important because I want people to understand how the coronavirus works. So,
okay.
I don't know if y'all heard of Kurzgesagt. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but this is a pretty damn good channel. They do like graphic videos. It's very informational. Pasta doesn't like it, but I like it, and they explain the coronavirus.
Why don't I like it?
I don't know. I tried to put it on for you. You didn't pay attention.
I don't remember. I was probably
It's too high level. It's too high level for you.
Is really just a hull around genetic material and a few proteins, arguably not even a living thing. It can only make more of itself by entering a living cell. Corona may spread via surfaces, but it's still uncertain how long it can survive on them. Its main way of spreading seems to be droplet infection, when people cough, or if you touch someone who's ill and then your face, say rubbing your eyes or nose. The virus starts its journey here and then hitches a ride as a stowaway deeper into the body. Its destinations are the intestines, the spleen, or the lungs, where it can have the most dramatic effect. Even just a few coronaviruses can cause quite a dramatic situation. The lungs are lined with billions of epithelial cells. These are the border cells of your body, lining your organs and mucosa, waiting to be infected. Corona connects to a specific receptor on its victim's membranes to inject its genetic material. The cell, ignorant of what's happening, executes the new instructions, which are pretty simple: copy and reassemble. It fills up with more and more copies of the original virus until it reaches a critical point and receives one final order: self-destruct. The cell sort of melts away, releasing new corona particles, ready to attack more cells. The number of infected cells grows exponentially. After about 10 days, millions of body cells are infected and billions of viruses swarm the lungs. The virus has not caused too much damage yet, but corona is now going to release a real beast on you, your own immune system. The immune system, while there to protect you, can actually be pretty dangerous to yourself and needs tight regulation. And as immune cells pour into the lungs to fight the virus, corona infects some of them and creates confusion. Cells have neither ears nor eyes. They communicate mostly via tiny information proteins called cytokines. Nearly every important immune reaction is controlled by them. Corona causes infected immune cells to overreact and yell bloody murder. In a sense, it puts the immune system into a fighting frenzy and sends way more soldiers than it should, wasting its resources and causing damage. Two kinds of cells in particular wreak havoc. First, neutrophils, which are great at killing stuff, including ourselves. As they arrive in their thousands, they start pumping out enzymes that destroy as many friends as enemies. The other important type of cells that go into a frenzy are killer T cells, which usually order infected cells to commit controlled suicide. Confused as they are, they start ordering healthy cells to kill themselves too. The more and more immune cells arrive, the more damage they do, and the more healthy lung tissue they kill. This might get so bad that it can cause permanent, irreversible damage that leads to lifelong disabilities. In most cases, the immune system slowly regains control. It kills the infected cells, intercepts the viruses trying to infect new ones, and cleans up the battlefield. Recovery begins. The majority of people infected by corona will get through it with relatively mild symptoms. But many cases become severe or even critical. We don't know the percentage because not all cases have been identified, but it's safe to say that there is a lot more than with the flu. In more severe cases, millions of epithelial cells have died, and with them, the lung's protective lining is gone. That means that the alveoli, tiny air sacs via which breathing occurs, can be infected by bacteria that aren't usually a big problem. Patients get pneumonia, respiration becomes hard or even fails, and patients need ventilators to survive. The immune system has fought at full capacity for weeks and made millions of antiviral weapons. And as thousands of bacteria rapidly multiply, it is overwhelmed. They enter the blood and overrun the body. If this happens, death is very likely. The coronavirus is often compared to the flu, but actually, it's much more dangerous. While the exact death rate is hard to pin down during an ongoing pandemic, we know for sure that it's much more contagious and spreads faster than the flu.
So, yeah, I just recommend y'all go watch that video. It's called The Coronavirus Explained and What You Should Do. It's Kyrgyzstan in a nutshell.
Yeah, because a lot of people said that it was just like the flu. That's like the common thing. Oh, it's just a flu.
And they kind of go on with the fast spread versus slow spread, and basically,
I was gonna say that the wave.
The fast spread, it's like a lot of people die if it spreads fastly, and then they draw a line here of the capacity of the healthcare system, especially in the U.S. So it bucks under when it's a fast pandemic. Mm-hmm. But if it's a slow one, maybe we can, cure more people and less people die.
That's why they're trying to tell everybody. Does this mean we have to stay in our rooms, like you said?
Yes.
So we're going from a house quarantine to a room quarantine after that video. That's why I try to ignore it.
No,
stay in your room.
No,
Johnny quarantine.
I'm fine with staying in my room.
Johnny quarantine says stay in your room.
No, if somebody has it, like was Daniel Day Kim, he had it. He quarantined himself from his family.
Yeah, but he got a test. That's what I'm saying. We can't even figure out a test. I just did that test online, and it says I can't.
Oh,
I kind of
yeah.
I don't know how
you got coronavirus.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
We got coronavirus.
You got coronavirus.
All right, fams.
Fuck the corona. I say the same thing. We want to thank you all for joining us today. In the 92 minutes, we gave you an extra 2 minutes because we love you. For everybody there on YouTube, the 300 and plus watchers today, thank you so much. It's such a late hour. We know you're all cracked out doing nothing. Go over to our ROKFIN. Endorse us if you can. Hopefully we'll get those checks. We'll have to see what's going on if the Democrats and the Republicans can get in a room and fucking get something done. Hopefully they can. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue spinning on those ones and twos.
Combo out.
Corona crazy.